Hi guys, and welcome to the Baby Sleep Magic podcast. My name is Chantal Murphy, and today we're going to be discussing a few questions that I've had over the last couple of weeks. So I often get some DMs in my inbox, and what I've done, I've selected probably 3 of the most common ones, and I'm just going to go through them in a minute and answer them in hope they help you guys back at home. So the first question is toddler and co-sleeping. So how do I get my little one, who is 2.5 years of age, sleeping in their own bed? Okay, so my first advice here would be to set up a bed or a toddler bed, if you can, preferably in your room to begin with. If you have co-slept for a very long time and it's something you have done since the get-go, getting your little one to go in their own room on their own from the get-go is probably not going to happen very easily. So my first tip would be to set up a toddler bed and put it, or even a single mattress on the floor, and put it in your room right next to your side of the bed. And get them involved in it. Get them involved in picking the sheets, picking the doonas, getting a pillow, and most importantly, get them included in picking some type of teddy or comforter, because from the sounds of it, they've been quite used to having you or your partner or you guys both sleeping with your little one, and he's going to need a replacement for that. So when you're not sleeping with him or her, he's going to be quite, vulnerable and need that comfort. So ideally what you want to do at this point is take him shopping and get him to select his own little teddy or his own little comforter, and use that during the day as much as you can. Have it involved in the family for probably, if you can, a week or so before you even do any transition. Start using that comforter during the night and sleeping with that comforter with both of you there. Put some mum or dad smell on it, get it really involved in the family. And monkey see, monkey do. If he can see that mum and dad are really loving this comforter, he's going to want it even more. He's going to say, well, that's mine. What's the big deal? Why is everyone loving this? This is mine. I chose this. So that will definitely help. Get him to name the comforter as well, and also take it everywhere with you for the first few days, and if you can, a couple of weeks, until that bond is created. Yeah, and like I said, it takes a little while. It's not going to happen overnight. It's certainly not going to even happen probably in a couple of weeks. So take that comforter or teddy everywhere with you and make a big deal of it. So when it is time to make that transition, that comforter or teddy isn't now a foreign thing. It hasn't just been introduced, the day before. That's my tip when it comes to that side of things. My other tip would be to implement a reward chart. So, little children, preschoolers, toddlers love reward and recognition, and they also love reward charts. So stickers go a really long way with children of this age. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can set it up yourself. And, when they do really good things when it comes to bedtime, reward them for it by giving them a sticker, or getting them to put the stickers on as well really goes a long way, because it gives them a little bit of ownership of that reward chart. Print it out or draw it up, put it in the bedroom where they can physically see it, and then when they brush their teeth, give them a sticker for that. When they have their last milk, drink or bottle of the night, give them a sticker for that. When they finish reading their books at the end of the night, give them a sticker for that, because that kind of starts the ball rolling in a really positive way for the beginning of the night. Once they lay in their big bed on their own, give them a sticker for that. If they continue to stay in their bed all night and not call out or not climb up with you, then in the morning they get a sticker. And if in the morning, if they get all their stickers, that's when they get a reward. And my advice when it comes to rewards for toddlers is preferably don't rush out and go buy anything. They don't really care about that, to be honest. All they want is a bit of time with you. So if you can designate 15 or 20 minutes first thing in the morning, or at least before 10 a.m, to do whatever they want to do, whether that's play blocks, play Lego, bake a cake, make some muffins, bit of craft, colouring in, play doctors, whatever you are happy to do with them and you've got the time to do, 15, 20 minutes is all they want and all they need for them to be, incentivized enough to continue that behaviour for the next day or that night moving forward. That's my advice when it comes to toddler co-sleeping. So just as a recap, introduce a comforter and have it with you a lot before you even start to transition. Implement a reward chart with lots of positive reinforcement with stickers. And also when you're putting your little one to sleep on the bed, have you sitting in the room with them. So don't lie with them anymore. Don't need to lay in their new bed anymore, but I would probably still be with them and sit with them in the room. And over a period of time, you can just move further away from them and ultimately out of the room. And when that day comes, they're finally sleeping in that bed on their own independently next to you, then you could move that bed into their room. And you kind of start that process all over again, but you're sitting in their room now on a chair, and then you move yourself out of their room over a period of time. So I hope that helps. Keeping the door open would probably help as well, given their age, and also introducing a night light if they're over the age of 2.5. If they do have a bit of sense of fear, the night light will help. So having it on all night and having that door open is kind of like a privilege for them, going to sleep with the door open. So I hope that helps when it comes to toddler and co-sleeping and getting them in their own bed. Next question is, my baby's waking all night and feeding. I get this a lot. This is probably the number one question I get with all mums, with all babies, all ages. My biggest tip for this is to ensure they are feeding well during the day. So if you've got a baby that's not on solids, you need to ensure that they're feeding well all day when it comes to the milk, whether it's boob or bottle. At least every 2 to even 3 hours during the day is ideally what they should be feeding. And they need to be feeding well and not just latching on for 5 minutes and having a few sucks and falling asleep. That's not a feed. They're taking advantage of you as a prop at this point, and they're not building up an appetite. They're snacking. And what babies are good at doing, and toddlers, are controlling their own calories. So if your baby's only snacking through the day, what you probably find is they're waking up all night to actually feed and feed well, because there's no distractions, everything's dark, and they actually getting a good feed in, which, you know, is great when it comes to them filling up, and there's generally no weight gain issue and they're not undernourished. There's no issues like that. But what they are doing is they're getting their calories through the night and they're waking you up to get it. So my biggest tip here, like I said, is to ensure they're feeding and eating well through the day. So ensure your baby is having, if they're just on milk, having feeds every 2 to 3 hours through the day. If they're on solids, you probably need to ensure they're having, you know, a good breakfast, lunch and dinner. If they're older than 8 months of age, then you need to ensure they're having at least a cup full of food for breakfast, lunch and dinner, if that's possible, and also start to implement some morning tea. Once they get beyond the age of 10 to 12 months, you can implement some afternoon tea as well. They still can keep their milk feeds at this point. All their milk feeds are really important up to the age of 12 months old, but I would, after 6 months, start to ensure that the food has become a little bit more of a priority. So they still get their milk, but you might want to switch it up a bit. Offer breakfast first and then milk, or offer half a milk first thing in the morning, then breakfast, then more milk. And same with through the day as well. You know, offer lunch first and then milk. For dinner, make sure they don't have too much milk before dinner, because you want them to eat a good dinner and enjoy it and eat it all. When it comes to feeding through the night, if you can, try and stall for as long as you can and space those feeds out to at least 4 hours if you possibly can. Now, I'm not with you at 2 a.m. in the morning with a screaming baby. So what you can do, and my advice to everyone at this point, is stall for as long as you can. However, if you feel that your baby is genuinely absolutely hungry and you are not going to get back to sleep without feeding, then feed. You need to do what you need to do for all of you to get to sleep. But at this point, if you can just stall for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, that's going to teach your little one that, you know, if they're not absolutely starving, it's not worth waking up through the night to get a snack, because they got to work really hard to get that snack. So stalling is definitely key, especially if your baby is older than 6 months of age and is on solids. Anything under that, look, 4 hours apart is ideal, but your baby still genuinely does need to be fed during the night, unless you're one of those lucky ones that does have a bub that sleeps all night. So yes, babies under the age of 6 months, try to keep them 4 hours apart, and it's fine for feeding still, obviously, but over the age of 6 months, try stalling. And then when it gets to that point of 4 hours, obviously feed, and then reduce the amount of milk that you are offering through the night. So if it's a bottle, you might want to reduce those bottles to 120 mils every 4 hours if you can. If it's on the breast, start timing how long bub is on the breast for, and start reducing the time by a couple of minutes over a period of a few days. So as an example, you might feed for 10 minutes and do that for 3 days, and then after 3 days reduce it down to 8 minutes and do that for 3 days, and then 6 minutes, and so on and so on. When you get down to about 4 minutes or 40 mils in the bottle, if you were doing bottle, it'd be the same situation. Then replace with water. You just cut feeds out altogether and then just replace those night wakings with water after stalling, of course. So yeah, as a recap, calories are really important. Babies and toddlers control their own calories, so the more calories they have through the day, the less they're going to want and need through the night. Increase portion sizes if your little one is on solids, and start to reduce night feeds through the night by stalling, trying to space them out 4 hours apart, and reduce the milk in either the bottle or the breast when you are doing those feeds overnight. So I hope that helps when it comes to babies waking all night feeding. My next one is more related to newborns and new babies. When do I start to unswaddle? This is another one of the questions I get asked quite frequently. Look, the rule is, the benchmark is really when your little one is capable of rolling front to back and back to front. It's quite dangerous at this point to have them swaddled. They need to have their arms out and they need to be able to move around freely themselves in the cot or the bassinet or the crib, wherever you've got them, without being restricted. So, to be honest, what I suggest all my clients do, anywhere from around about 9 to 12 weeks of age, if not a little bit earlier, start unswaddling them with one arm out. It just starts to get them used to a little bit of freedom with one hand or one arm. So there's products out there you can use if you don't want to use a swaddle. If you're finding they're busting out of the swaddle, there are products you can use that you can keep one arm in and one arm out. Ultimately, as well, at that point, you can start to introduce a comforter as well, which will help them soothe, because they will be looking for something to soothe. When they start becoming unswaddled, they will probably look to suck their fingers or maybe look for their thumb, or at this point, if their arms are out, they will be looking for something to soothe themselves. So a comforter at this point is a good option to start introducing. If you don't want to introduce it to bed, you can start to introduce it during the day, because they're at an age where, from 10 to 12 weeks, they're at an age where they can start to actually move their hands and play with their fingers and kind of know what they're doing with them. So I hope that helps, guys. Thanks so much for listening. If you do have any questions, feel free to, follow me on Instagram, send me a DM, because over the next couple of weeks, we'll be going through some more questions and answering your questions again in the future on another one of the podcasts that we do. So if you do find any of this information helpful, please feel free to share it with another mum or a friend. Yeah, thanks for listening. Talk to you again soon.